I farted.
Are you kidding me?
I did.
Oh my God! This is my place. Okay. I can't think. I need more Mullins.
Hey, and welcome back to the Office Field Guide. Today we're looking at the Office Olympics. The setup for this episode is that Michael and Dwight head out of the office to finalize the paperwork on the purchase of Michael's first home, a swell condo that reappears several times throughout the series. Meanwhile, the rest of the office staff conduct a series of office-based sporting events. Office Olympics is the third episode of the second season of The Office, or ninth overall. It was written by Michael Schur and directed by Paul Feig. It originally aired in October of 2005, and it was viewed by about 8.3 million people, which is up from the previous week and was probably crazy exciting to everyone involved in the show. We've got a lot to talk about in this field guide. So many firsts in this episode. Quotes from the real Mose, and clips from Paul Lieberstein in the original Office Olympics. So let's let the games begin.
No one asked you anything ever?
This is an episode of first. To start it all off, what is this? A cold opening? Yes, it is. It's such a good device they use from here throughout the end of the series with just a few exceptions. And it started with this.
Okay. Healthier. I'll watch those carbs.
And staying in the theme of first, yes, this is the first instance of Michael Schur's portrayal of the character of Mose Schrute.
My grandfather left me a 60-acre working beet farm. I run it with my cousin Mose.
In an interview years ago, Schur stated that the character of Mose came to him when he watched a reality TV show called Amish in the City. The show ran for 10 episodes way back in 2003, but one day, early in season 1 of The Writer's Room, Schur did an impersonation of a young Amish man from that show that he had gotten intrigued by. That man's name? Mose. It was Mose. I don't know if you were expecting something cooler than that. When Schur did this impersonation, though, Greg Daniels stood up and said, "That's it. You're Mose Schrute, Dwight's cousin." And in this episode, we just get this one picture of Mose Schrute. We don't get a proper introduction to the character until season 3 in the initiation episode. I am happy to report that while researching this episode, I did get in contact with the real Mose. He's gone from that reality show to owning a construction company, to being a car salesman, to currently being an over-the-road trucker. While he declined an interview, he did tell me I could quote him in saying, "I have not watched The Office, but if someone finds me interesting enough to duplicate my character, then I'm okay with that." It's awesome to think that there are people driving around Missouri in cars sold to them by the real Mose. And while the real Mose wants to stay out of the limelight, he does have a YouTube page. I pulled a clip from one of his most recent videos that includes a joke.
Are you ready for your daily Mose Gingrich pickup line? Okay, here we go.
It's amazing. I'm going to leave that at the end of this video. You won't be disappointed. Alright, back to the Office Olympics. This is the third episode of the season, and it's the third one we can say was inspired by the creators' previous life experiences. In this case, many of the writers and producers came to The Office directly from working on the King of the Hill series, in which they had their own version of the Office Olympics. See if you can spot out Toby.
Keep an eye on the feet.
You know, slow and steady doesn't always win the race.
Oh, exit to your right. Exit to your right. Exit to your right.
And break.
After this episode aired, offices around the country started their own inter-office Olympics. There's an article in the description about the phenomenon, but I think what's more interesting is that this might be the first example of the impact that this show would have on the culture around it. And yet another first for this episode, and a basic trivia fact, is the appearance of Michael's real estate agent and on-again, off-again lady friend Carol, who happens to be Steve Carell's real-life wife. And while she's a great reoccurring character on the show, I love that this actual condo is not on a soundstage, but is in fact a real condo out in LA somewhere that's used again throughout the series in episodes like Fun Run and Michael Scott Paper Company. But the real character of this condo is fleshed out during the dinner party episode. Now, I've gone slightly out of order with my reviews. I started with season 4, so if you love the dinner party episode of The Office, after this video, go check that one out. We go in depth into the symbolism and the crazy details baked into that episode. But with that, let's go to the deeper meaning of the Office Olympics.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
The word of the day here is perspective, and stick with me. The writers compare Michael and Jim in this episode. Michael starts off with an elevated sense of importance, whereas Jim starts with an exaggerated sense of bleakness. I had to look that up. It is a word. Michael's arc is a journey from a high to a low, while Jim's is one from a low to a high. There seems to be two messages called out in the writing here. First, our perspective can make or break our current situation. Think about it. While Michael starts excited about his condo, he ends, or rather would have ended, being rather depressed about his situation. Nothing in his circumstances changed whatsoever, only his perspective. In the same way, Jim comes to life in this episode. While on the surface it might seem that Jim is just messing around, it's clear that Jim has the ability to inspire and lead people with his natural charisma and talents. He didn't gain these skills because Michael and Dwight left. In other words, his circumstances didn't change, only his perspective. And I think the message here is that our mindsets can completely change our lives. And I think the other message of this episode, which is really just an extension of the first, is that if our perception of our situation can make a difference in life, then the people we listen to can greatly change our perception. Michael's perception changed only due to Dwight's negativity, but then it changed again, as far as he knows, because the office was celebrating his purchase. And while Jim was about to go back to being normal Jim due to Dwight and Michael's return, instead, he doesn't allow his circumstances or the people around him to impact his perspective.
I mean, it was really nice of Pam to make them, but what am I going to do with a gold medal made of paper clips and an old yogurt lid?
And I think to the writers, this episode must have meant a lot. The camaraderie and the optimism of this episode is evident without even looking deep into it at all. The Office Olympics is even referenced in two other extremely heartfelt moments in the series. First, when Jim opens up the folder during his interview at corporate.
We have this very irritating HR guy here. He's probably the only person you're not going to like. Kendall. Ugh. So...
And again in the season finale when Phyllis brings up Flonkerton and Creed says he still has his medal.
Hey Jim, remember Flonkerton when you did Office Olympics? It was awesome.
I still have my medal from that.
Do you even have a mattress?
No, but I still have my medal from that.
So clearly to the writers, this episode meant a lot throughout the entire series. Or I don't know, maybe this whole episode was just an excuse for Sure to see his future as Mose Shroot.
Ow! What gives you the right?
All right, great. So we finally get to rate a cold opening. And I'm so glad we're able to do this now. I love the cold openings of The Office. I give this one a 2 out of 5. This isn't the worst kind of cold opening. It's just not very good. I'm glad it exists, and it only goes up from here. But on to this episode. I'm going to give this episode a 4 out of 5. It's a classic from season 2 of The Office. While this show still has some growing up to do, this is The Office. This is what the show is about. People. And I have to mention the ending. It walks this line of funny and crazy, and it just makes you feel the feels. But with that, let's dish out some Dundies.
And then I gotta get him to the Dundies.
The Dundie for the quickest translation under pressure award goes to Pam Beasley.
Jim, they refer to it as Flonkerton. In English, box of paper snowshoe racing.
And the Dundie for It's the Thought That Counts goes to Kevin Malone. So today in the comments, tell me what your made-up game for the Office Olympics would be. Has your office ever done anything like this? Tell us in the comments. And that's all we've got for this field guide on the Office Olympics. Another great episode, extremely well produced, extremely well written, and extremely well acted in. Make sure you like and subscribe and click the bell and all that stuff. Next week, we're going to be talking about The Fire. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Are you ready for your daily Mose Gingrich pickup line? Okay, here we go. I'm beginning to think I'm a sheep, because every time I look at you, I want to be bad.
Grr.